Welcome to the Self-Publishing Tips and Tricks Show, a series designed to give you insight into the world of self-publishing and marketing your books. Featuring your hosts, Shannon, the author behind the pen name S.C. Huston, Ben Pick, and Morgan Lee. Join us several times each month when we interview authors about their self-publishing and marketing journeys, talk to industry leaders, and discuss books about writing, self-publishing, and marketing.
Hello, everyone. My name is Morgan Lee. I am an indie author of the Seedlings trilogy, which is a dark fantasy trilogy. Today, we are interviewing author J. Darkmoore. Before we talk to him, let's give some updates about what's happening in our author lives.
Hi, everyone. I'm Shannon. I write under the pen name of S.C. Huston and the author of the Clash of Goddesses series and A Curse of Scales and Feathers. And as of the date that this should be airing, September 15th, my next Kickstarter should already be going. That would be like the latest that is going. It might possibly be done if I get through my edits and everything in time. I will have the pre-launch page up by now. I'm hoping to have it up before the authortube writing conference, which is in June. I will include the link to the authortube writing conference down in the description box and in the show notes for the podcast if you're interested in taking a look at those videos, and those are free and openly available for everyone to watch. But that's when my Kickstarter will be pre-launched, with hopefully it's starting to run in August and be done by this time. But if I do not get through the process of editing faster than what I'm going at right now, it may be going live now. But that's all I have for now.
Yeah, I am Ben Pick. Every Monday night at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, I give questionable writing advice through writing metaphors on YouTube at my channel, Writing to Write. This will be coming out in September. I don't have any big plans for September. I should be well on the way of writing my fourth book by then, but anything specific that is far too in advance for me to actually plan for. So I'm also trying to incorporate monthly writing sprints as a part of my YouTube channel. So come join those on Monday nights a little bit earlier, 6 p.m., and I'll have more information about as I start finalizing and doing that regularly.
So your Monday night stream that you used to do, like sort of like an episode, you're doing now sprints during that?
I'm going to incorporate it in, so like once a month. I'm guessing the second Monday of every month, I'll probably be doing writing sprints, and then I'll be including my normal weekly writing advice, the other 3 to 4 times of the month.
Oh, that's awesome. Monday night's actually kind of a slow night for sprints on AuthorTube, so that's perfect.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good. Well, then we can start the week off right. Coming soon, so by September it should already be out.
Nice. And then for me, hopefully working on my next project, which will be my Cozy Fantasy series, which is an 8-book non-linear series. And I'm really excited about that. So
Was this the one that was supposed to be dark too, but cozy but dark?
No, I was writing it too dark. Like when I wrote the first draft of the first 2 books, and I was trying to get into the cozy vibe after coming off of the dark. So some of the scenes were a little bit too dark. So I was trying to pull it back. So yeah, that's me. That's what I'll be doing in September, not February. Wow. All right. So now let's introduce our guest author today. J. Darkmoore is a UK best-selling author with a background in crime and investigation. He is a huge fan of all things dark, exploring the macabre, demonic, and darker aspects of the human psyche. Jay likes putting his characters in terrible situations and then turning out all of the lights. To date, he has self-published novels of horror, crime, and dark fantasy dystopia. His inspirations are Stephen King, Keith C. Blackmore, and Nick Cutter. When not at his desk, Jay spends his free time making YouTube videos to help writers in their craft, promoting other books he has enjoyed, as well as hitting the gym and taking wild cold plunges with ducks. He is a parent to his son, Joe, who is his biggest fan. Support the author by signing up for his newsletter at jdarkmooreauthor.com for exclusive content. Now let's bring on our guest author. So welcome, Jay.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for that introduction. I couldn't have said it better myself. Really appreciate that. It's really kind of you. It's great. It's great to be on the show. I've seen some of your content before, and it's cool to actually be on the show. It's like, wow, that's mental. It's nuts. So yeah, thanks for reaching out. Thanks for having me on. It's been great.
Yeah, you're welcome. So let's start by asking you to tell us a little bit about your journey to self-publishing your first book and what genre you published first.
So the book, I always loved horror. Like I said the intro, I loved reading Stephen King. I love reading Keith C. Blackmore, that kind of thing. So what I did was, in my line of work, I always wanted to write a book. It was always one of those things on my bucket list. And I'd always written short stories and little bits when I was younger. I never really kind of took it seriously. So then what I did was, in a professional setting, I met someone who essentially upset me to the point that I was very, very upset by this person. The most narcissistic, in-your-face, abusive person I've ever met. And in true passive aggression, I then wrote a murder mystery about this person's demise. I wrote 14 characters, characters. I wrote different scenes. I just sat down one day and I was like, right, this is what's going to happen. And it took about 2 weeks to do. And then what I did was I got all my friends to come round to my house at the time. And we did like a big night of it. So everyone's playing characters, they had drinks, they had food, they had like a little storyline and stuff. And it was really fun. And then I thought, right, okay, well, I've actually got loads of characters here. I have a plot line. I have different stories. Why do I not just start writing this book? So then I wrote my first novel then, which was called The Space Between Heaven and Hell, which is a psychological occult thriller, multiple point of view, mystery, demonic possession, all the good stuff. And then I thought, right, okay, a little bit of success with that one. So I thought, right, now let's make a go of this. So then from there, I wrote some short horror stories, released those. Then I thought, okay, I'll do a bit of change of tack now. I'll go into maybe like the darker sort of dystopia sort of thing. So that's where I started writing The Everlife Chronicles, which was a two-book series, which is a dark fantasy. And then I wrote more horror. And then I really started to find my own kind of feet when I started writing a crime series, which is a series which is out now, which is, I would say, my most successful series to date. It's the one people tend to like the most and the one I feel most comfortable writing and the one I get the most enjoyment out of writing. So it started with an extremely passive-aggressive way to get over someone being extremely rude to me, and that's led me all the way to here. So when life gives you lemons, make lemonade, I suppose.
So I have a couple of questions with that. Do you follow Alex Newton or get the K-Lytics reports at all? Do you know what I'm talking about?
I've heard of K-Lytics, but okay. I don't follow those now.
Okay. So there was a 50%, it's 50 plus, I don't know, it's 52, 56, somewhere in there, percent increase of readers searching for horror last year. So it's on the rise right now. So I would tap into that with your backlist. You know, you might be able to capture some of that audience. And then the second thing is did you kill that person off in one of your novels?
I couldn't possibly tell you that. I couldn't possibly say. that would ruin the book.
Well, I mean, you don't have to tell us which one, but I just wondered if the person that made you really angry, if you ended up putting a character.
He got what was coming to him, let's put it that way.
Gotcha.
If I ever see him again, I'm going to shake his, I'm going to give him a copy and go, yeah, that's about you. Saying that, he'll probably find it quite self-indulgent and quite enjoy it. But then you might not like how it ends. But anyway.
Well, you do have this fascinating background in crime and investigation. So how has this influenced your work, particularly your exploration of the macabre and the darker aspects of the human psyche?
So in my line of work, I would see and deal with the worst things humanity would necessarily have to deal with. So the way I see it is it's like kind of like it's stepping through a door to what other people don't see. So day to day, people have, the day-to-day lives and stuff. Whereas if you was in the world where I was in, you are going and dealing with people on the worst day of their lives, or you're also dealing with situations which most people would run away from, and you've got to run towards it. So and through that, I've developed quite a fascination with psychology, certainly personality disorders, so such as your narcissism, your Machiavellianism, your borderline personality disorder, etc. And through my exploration to those topics, my exploration to those disorders, I've managed to, I've gone down so many different rabbit holes, which have really influenced the darker aspects of the human persona, and also then looking at how you can manifest a character through that, how you can create quite toxic relationships through that, and then you can throw in, a little bit of storytelling too. So then, you might have someone who's quite mentally unwell. So then let's throw them into another situation and let's add maybe some demonic stuff in there, maybe a little bit of supernatural, maybe another character has something going on. So just from that one affect of using personal experience, I've able to be able to build on that so much more to create, hopefully, stories what people like to read. But because I've been able to experience these things firsthand, I'm able to give quite a realistic, authentic feel. So, for example, in my crime novel, I wrote a line and it said that death has a unique smell. Unless you've dealt with a lot of dead bodies, you wouldn't necessarily know what a dead body smells like. And I had some people message me, like nurses, firemen, stuff like that, going, that actually hit the nail on the head. The way you describe that smell, you can't describe what it is, but you'd recognise it if you smelt it. And I think that's why I like writing the genre what I write, certainly thrillers, certainly crime thrillers, because I've got experience in that field and a lot of in-depth knowledge which you wouldn't know unless you'd been there and done it. So yeah, that's why.
Hits right what you know really strongly there.
Try.
Yeah, Jay, I actually know a couple of other self-published authors, or I know one specifically, and he used to be a crime scene investigator in Baltimore, and he used that to sort of feed into his own supernatural thrillers. And oh boy, some of the stories he was sharing, it was kind of horrific. But it's good that he was able to move on from that by sort of using it to fuel his own stories.
Yeah, it's definitely cathartic. Certainly if you've dealt with something quite upsetting or quite traumatic, or something bad's just happened and you need a way to get it out. And it's great to be able to write these things down and to be able to unpack them. And like I say, it's like a form of therapy. But you also worry yourself at times because some of the things will come out your brain and you go onto the page. I don't know, Morgan, you write dark fantasy as well, and I'm sure Ben and Shan, you guys have written some stuff before where you sit there and you go and you look back on the manuscripts at the scene you just wrote, and it's like, I think I need help. I think I need to go speak to somebody. So it really, it's cathartic. It's good. The issue that I had when I first started writing in this kind of genre was because I know quite a lot about the intricacies of police work and detective work, etc. I didn't want to make it too like in depth as in the processes, etc. So that was something I was a bit worried about, making it too lifelike and kind of just giving the readers a little bit so that they understand without basically kind of show off and be too gratuitous about it. And from the feedback I've had, people have said, we can tell you know what you're talking about and you're not shoving it down our throat. So there's a bit of a fine line in regards to that as well. So it's, but yeah, your friend's work sounds pretty cool.
How did you make the decision to self-publish versus traditionally publishing? Did someone or something or some video inspire you to self-publish?
That's a good question. Let me try and think of that. So I think, in the honest answer, I'm a bit of a control freak, and I like being able to write what I want to write, publish when I want to publish, and be able to create what I want to create. I don't like people telling me what to do. I don't like if somebody was reading a story and I had to appease them and go through them to be able to get it published, to have to change the story to fit what they wanted. Obviously, you can't be arrogant about it. If you've got beta readers and editors and all the rest of it, and they're saying, look, this part isn't working, if you stick your head in the sand, then that's going to reflect in how your readers view the book. So you've got to have a bit of give and take. But I don't know. I like being able to be in control of what I want to do. I like that the book stops with me. So if I'm doing well, that's my fault. If I'm doing terribly, that's my fault. It's all down to me. So it allows me to take charge of my own destiny, take charge of my own business, my own creativity, without having to have that gatekeeper. Plus, the extra royalties are nice when they come through. And also, I think because you have to approach self-publishing as not just a creative endeavor, but also like a business as well. I've learned quite a lot when it comes to marketing, promoting, productions, trying to be the most efficient and streamlined as possible. If I was working with a publisher, then generally they would do all that sort of stuff, or at least people think. It certainly used to be the publisher would do it all, but now the publisher is expecting you to do more and more and more for less control and less payment, less royalty. So I was thinking, well, if I'm going to do all the work anyway, and I'm not going to be restricted, why don't I just do it myself? And it was a big learning curve. I'd say the biggest learning curve I had initially with self-publishing was I was so eager to publish that first book. I essentially rushed it, and that certainly told in the early reviews I got. People saying, you've not proofread it properly. There's a mistake here, there's a mistake there. So I had to really pull it back and re-edit it and resubmit it. And it was a bit of a pain in the backside. So that's definitely something I've learned through doing it myself is, yes, you might be eager, but you want to release the book when it's at the best it could be, and not just you want to release it now and you'll deal with the backlash later if it's not very good. So definitely something I've had to look into, and definitely lessons I've had to learn. But yeah, so that's a roundabout way of saying I'm a control freak and I want to control what I want to do myself. So that's why I went and did indie publishing. It's harder, it takes longer and it's more difficult, but yeah, I absolutely love it.
I feel like that's something that all indie authors have in common, is that need to maintain that control over a book. Me especially. I related to just get it out there and I'll deal with the consequences later. I know it's not ready, but let's just get this going.
You think it's ready, but then when you do more projects in the future, you go, oh yeah, I actually didn't do that first time, or yeah, skip that next time. So, and you discover all these new processes and all these kind of refining processes of the story to make it the best it can be. Mm-hmm. And because you do it more and more, you get better at it. So you get better results and you get better at producing it too. But that, like you said, that only comes with mistakes. If you get everything right, you never learn anything. So you've got to learn from your mistakes as well, of which I've made many.
What one misconception did you have about self-publishing before you published your book?
A misconception I think I had before I self-published my first book was people don't judge a book by its cover. That's something what you hear quite a lot. And people go, oh, you don't judge a book by its cover. They absolutely do. So if you cheap out on the cover, which I had done in the past early on, I went onto Fiverr and I got a $5 cover and it was just like a copy and paste job. And I looked at them and went, oh my God. So that fed into the excitement again, going, oh wow, now I've got the book cover. This is amazing. This is awesome. Publish, people are going, the cover's terrible. And there's full of mistakes. So I'm like, great, not a great debut. So yeah, definitely have to invest in not only only yourself in different software, learning things, still learning the craft, learning how to improve your story. You've also got people are brutal, and you can have the best story in the world, but if no one's picking up the book and no one's stopping or clicking on it, then no one's ever going to read it. So yeah, you definitely have to invest in what you want, and that can be expensive unless you have a background in graphic design, of which I do not. But yeah, misconception I would say is definitely people do judge a book by its cover. And I think another thing is like it goes back to people being brutal. Like, people will tell you what they think about the book. Like, certainly if it's somebody online, somebody is definitely going to tell you what they think of that book, whether you like it or not. So it's being able to develop a thick skin as well. And another thing is, I think some people think it's the easy way, where they go, oh, I'll just publish it myself and that's fine. And there's still a little bit of stigma, I think, with that when you say to someone, oh, I'm a writer. And so, okay, what publishing house are you with? Oh, no, I just do it myself. Oh, really? It's like you've gone up from that expectation down to there straight away, even though there are plenty of 6, 7, 8-figure authors out there, bringing in quite a lot of money and the worldwide. So yeah, people think it's the easy way out, and it's really not. So that's definitely part of it as well.
Yeah, book cover is definitely important. The whole judge a book by its cover probably came from books. So because we judge the books by the cover, but they're saying don't be like a book, in real life.
Yeah.
So your thrillers are known for pushing boundaries. How do you approach writing intense scenes while ensuring they resonate with readers without being gratuitous, like you mentioned before?
Yeah, so I try not over explain certain things. Like, I think, okay, well, if I'm talking about this, if I'm talking about a certain scene and there's a little bit of insider knowledge there, just that little bit's enough. You don't need to absolutely hammer the point over and over again. You don't need to micro explain because I've read books like that where the writer's got a background in surgery, or they're like a geneticist or something, and it's just reams and reams of fine detail, which I'm going, okay, this is clearly for the writer, not for the reader. I don't need to know all this stuff. And what was the other part? The writing scenes. So I like writing things which I want to read. And what I find is, if I'm writing a scene or a story and I'm getting bored writing it, then I know it's not good enough. Because if I'm getting bored writing it, the person's going to get bored reading it, and I'm going to get bored reading it because I'll be reading it quite a lot. So if I'm getting bored reading a scene, I need to change it. If I'm not engaged, if I'm not getting into flow, if I'm not getting excited, then I need to do something else. And the most difficult scenes I've written are the ones which come from somewhere quite personal. So if I'm writing a scene and it conveys an emotion which I felt before, it relates to something which has upset me before, I'm able to pour in a lot more emotion into the scene, which can be difficult for me because you're having to rip open a wound and basically bleed onto the page, as they say. But it seems to be the more I bleed onto the page, the more people like it. So readers are vampires, essentially, is what I'm trying to say. Writing the scene, it can be difficult, but you've got to know how deep to go into it, and also when to pull back a little bit. And I think that just comes with experience. That just comes from writing more scenes, getting feedback, and doing what people like and doing what you enjoy as well. So yeah, I think that's what it is with that one.
I use the same measure. If I'm writing a scene and I'm bored writing the scene, I'm like, who's going to read this if it's boring to me?
Yeah.
But then I usually get rid of it, or I try to figure out some way to not make it boring.
Yeah. Just break someone's legs. Like, if it's going, if it's going that way, and it's just smash something into the character, smash something into it. Like, that's the best way, I think. Make conflict, make someone's day bad. Like,
torture our characters. Yeah,
torture characters. It's just the best way. We're sadistic. It's fine.
Yeah, it is fun seeing how so many different doctors become writers. Like, one of my favorites, Michael Crichton. He has a lot of books where he streamlines the science, but then there's a couple of them. I think Huston is one in particular where he just goes on and on about the virus and like how it can get transmuted and like all the different like the chemical compositions that go inside of it. And so yeah, like if it's not streamlined, if it's great to show off your expertise, but at some point the general audience don't need to know all that information.
Yeah, I mean, I've always tried to work on the thing of less is more. Mm-hmm. If you can, like, maybe don't describe something more than twice. Maybe if you're going into some detail about something, don't give more than 3 points of description. Let the reader come up with a bit of something, because you can describe it down perfectly and people will still imagine it a different way. You might have something in your head, but people still describe it a different way. And it's the same when it comes to like medical knowledge and technical knowledge of a certain topic. Just give what we need to know and then move on. It makes me laugh, actually. Stephen King turns around and says, on his book on writing, he says, you don't need to over-describe and bore readers with backstory. This is coming from a guy who spends 10 pages to open a door. So it's You can.
Do as I say, not as I do.
You can. Yeah, that's it. You can hammer it home. My old drama teacher said, "Don't over egg the pudding. Don't overdo it. You just need a little bit, and then you can move on. And as long as what you're writing is factual, people aren't going to go, "Oh, I know about space travel, and that's not right." Okay, that's fine. So as long as what you're writing is factual and correct, you don't need to like be overindulgent about it.
From your point of view, what's been your greatest publishing success?
I've got a couple. So there's one I've got two which come to mind. The first one is like, getting to number one on Amazon because I did a free promotion, went really, really well. Tons and tons of downloads. It was awesome. And I got number one in Australia, USA, Canada, and UK, which was amazing, brilliant, tea and medals all around. But that was really, really cool. But I'd say the one bigger than that was I checked on my Instagram one day and I had a message request. So I looked on it and it was someone who I'd never spoke to before, someone who had never been seen, and they'd gone out their way to message me. And they said, "Hi Jay, just to let you know, I read your book Left 4 Dead and it's one of the best books I've ever read. Keep doing what you're doing." And I was like, that felt much better than hitting the number one charts. I mean, yeah, hit the number one chart, that's insane, that's incredible, it's like a dream come true. But the fact that somebody's gone out of their way and searched me up online, found me, and taken time out of their day to message me and say, "I really enjoyed what you were doing, it's brilliant, keep doing it," that felt so much more fulfilling, even though like there's no kind of landmark for that, there's no kind of measure of success for that on any kind of graph or any chart. It was great that this person's gone out their way to specifically message me and say, "Really, really enjoy what you do." So yeah, I definitely say that. Like that was such a nice, fulfilling moment where I go, because we always get the imposter syndrome. We always think, oh, people are just being nice, people are being, the reviews, they're not real. The bad reviews are real, but the nice reviews are fake. They're not real. People are doing that on purpose. And just the nice comments you get in online, and, all that. But when somebody comes out the way and they message you and they say that they really enjoyed it, and you've never had any affiliation with this person before, it just makes that little voice in your head shut up a little bit. And that was a really nice moment. So yeah, definitely, I'd say that one has been my biggest thing I've enjoyed so far.
That's awesome. Because we write for readers, not for like awards and accolades all the time. So I think that's a really good publishing success.
Yeah, it was lovely.
If you could only pass on one thing to aspiring self-published writers, what would be your best publishing tip or trick?
Prepare to work hard. This does not come easily. If anyone tells you can write one book and you will be a success, they are lying. Lightning strikes do happen, but you cannot pin a career on a lightning strike. And the chances are you will not get a lightning strike. And if you do, you will shoot up success and you will drop twice as fast. If you want to make a long-lasting career in the publishing world, you got to never stop working. You might publish a book. Well, guess what? You got to write another one and then another one. And you have to engage with your readers. You have to build a newsletter. You can't just create a Facebook page and then that's you. You've got to build a newsletter. You got to find a way to contact readers. But the main thing is there is always more to learn. You are never done. And there will be a long time where you're writing in the dark, no one's watching, and you're getting nothing from it. And then you might get a bit of something, and then you might get a little bit more. But this is a very slow process. It is not a get-rich-quick scheme, and there is a lot of competition. So you have to be prepared to work for it. Essentially, do not pick up that pen if you ever want to put it down again. So I would definitely say that. Don't pick up the pen if you're never going to put it down again. I'm going to write that down. That was all right, actually.
Put it on a t-shirt and sell it.
Keep hold of that. I'm happy with that.
Yeah, I would say I would almost not, I would almost prefer not to be a bestseller on my very first novel. And I think because it does, kind of set you up thinking that you're always going to be at that level. And I've heard a lot of authors talk about how they've had a lot of success with their first book and then they were just let down on the next book. So, and they didn't know how to handle that because they assumed, oh, I've got success. Now I'm going to have more success. So for sure.
There's a lot of pressure, isn't there? Like if you write a book and it's a really good book and people really like it, there's so much pressure then to get the next book. And as well, if then you get a second bestseller, the high might not be as good as the first bestseller because you've already reached that peak. So you can't have the first time being a bestseller again. So, and then if that becomes a standard, you can keep getting bestsellers, but then becoming a bestseller is just normal. So there's only one way down. There's only one way from that, and that's down. So it's much better to start here and go up than to start here and then it just become normal and then you can only go down again. Yeah. So
my understanding is that that's what happened with Andy Weir with the Martian, because the Martian is phenomenal, and then like everything after that is just less.
Yeah.
I haven't read his other books, so I don't honestly know. That's just what I've heard.
But that's it. You've not read his other books. You've read that first one and thought, this is great. This is amazing. But it's like 50 Shades of Grey. I mean, I'm sure she's not skinned. I'm sure she's got plenty of money, but she never needs to write again. But I mean, you can't base your career off getting a lightning strike. And who's going to remember E.L. James in 10 years? People remember Stephen King. People remember J.K. Rowling. People remember these authors that have been doing it for years and years and years, and they built that fan base very slowly. And they are such like household incredible names now. You can want success and you can want to be a household name, but if you shoot up to the sky, there's only one. You fly too close to the sun, you're going to melt out and you're going to fall back down. So yeah, it's a bittersweet. It's like a double-edged sword. Be careful what you wish for, because you just might get it.
Yeah, so true. A lot of times, if I say the name E.L. James, people don't know who I'm talking about. But if I say 50 Shades of Grey, now they know what I'm talking about. So she's more known by her book than her author. Yeah. So, all right. So we're going to move from publishing to marketing. You have a strong online presence through your website, YouTube channel, Instagram, and TikTok. So how have these platforms helped you connect with readers and build your author platform?
TikTok's definitely helped. I think when I started taking TikTok a bit more seriously, because it was like a newer platform, I think that's when I started getting a little bit more growth and a bit more recognition. A couple of videos doing quite well helps us get as well quite a lot. But with TikTok, it's more like a flash in the pan. There's less loyalty with TikTok. It's like, you might get a video that does well and you might get a bit of success from that. And then that's kind of gone then. You've got to keep replicating it. Whereas Instagram, there's much more of a more loyal following because it's more accessible and you can follow and message and all the rest of it. So to be honest, I've not really done anything differently throughout the time. I've just gotten better at it. I've gotten better at engaging, better at messaging, better at creating graphics and just creating more of a platform. So social media has definitely helped. One of the biggest things which I'm happy I did though is start a newsletter. I started that really early, so I've always been able to capture different email addresses and be able to directly communicate with readers, because I've heard loads of horror stories of people saying they've had their Instagram account shut down and their entire platform was on Instagram, or they've had the TikTok shut down and their Amazon shut down. If they're on KDP, their Amazon page gets cancelled for whatever reason, and that's caused a lot of issues. So definitely having that email list has helped massively to be able to just keep in contact with people, give people first up when it comes to giveaways, when it comes to freebies, giving like insider knowledge. So always rewarding people for following you that way, to give them a little bit of insider knowledge. And then recently what I've done is I've got a Discord as well. So I've got like an ARC team, street team. So I talk to the Discord team all the time. So that our relationship with those people has gotten really well. Plus that brings everyone else together. So it's not just people following me, people follow each other and help each other out as well. So yeah, social media definitely been a big help, but I don't think you can just rely on that. Yeah, what I found as well is that people buy you. They don't just buy your book or your work, they buy you and your personality. So if you can be someone who's quite friendly and interacts with people. For example, I'm going off on a tangent here now, I'm sorry. There's a writer that I follow. She's a very successful indie writer, really successful. And she's passed her social media to an assistant and her emails to an assistant. So now whenever I message you and I go, hi, what about this? What about this? And I really like this. It's always, hey, this person is no longer active on this. It's actually me. So now I'm like, right, okay, now I feel a bit, now you don't even have the time to message back the people that have followed you for so long. So that now makes me not like the person. The books can still be great. But this one, we buy the author, we buy the person, not necessarily the product. And because now this person has gone, this writer has gone, I don't want to talk to my fans anymore because it takes too much time. That has really impacted my opinion of this person. Now that might just be me, but I think if you're using social media, etc., then you've got to be willing to still engage as much as you can, really.
You make very compelling bookmarking videos on your multiple platforms, especially those discussing real-life examples of narcissism. Can you discuss the strategy behind that approach? And how do you integrate your book content into these videos without giving too much away? So
the point of view videos, which I do, I actually saw one of them. I was just scrolling through TikTok mindlessly, jaw down to the floor like a zombie. And I looked at a video and it was a lady, she was there and she was saying like, I'm going to go away with my boss this weekend. And she told about this big like kind of love story. And I was like, oh my God, what's going to happen? And then she went, and that is from this book. And I thought, that is absolutely brilliant. I'm copying that. I'm doing that. So then it's somewhat sadistic of me. I kind of like to be a bit provocative. I like to, make people feel something a little bit. And some of the biggest videos I've made are where it's me talking to the camera saying like, I'm abusive. This is what my girlfriend has to put up with. I enjoy hurting people. And people go crazy. People are absolutely crazy. But then at the end, I go, if you like that, check out this. And
saw one of your videos before you reached out to me, and it did say that I'm going to separate you from your parents. You're not going to be allowed to see them. I'm going to tell your parents all the things you're doing wrong, so that when you come to your parents and tell them what's wrong in the relationship, they're not going to believe you. They're going to believe you're the one making all the mistakes. And I was like, what am I watching? And then you did that, and I sent the video to Margaret right away. She's my partner at the AWC, and she started watching. She's like, what am I watching? And then she got to the issue. Oh.
Yeah, so like, you know, but the inspiration behind that particular character, who is a very unhealthy human being, is the antagonist in Left 4 Dead. And if anyone's listening, I'm currently holding up the copy of Left 4 Dead, which is my Detective Lord Warburton series. And so the antagonist in that is a narcissistic, abusive person, and he's the lead character. Detective Lord Warburton is a victim of coercive and controlling behaviour. Very insidious to what people do. I know quite a lot about that. So what I did was I not only then researched more into control and coercive behaviour and the character, but I then researched a lot more into narcissism and like psychopathy. So then what I thought, right, okay, I know quite a bit about this. I'm going to do something maybe a little bit brave. I'm going to pretend to be this guy, and I'm going to talk about this sort of stuff online. And people lost their minds. They were going crazy. It was amazing. And then from there, I'd say that it was that video that got me quite a lot more traction, a lot more interest in the books, and then the subsequent interactions and books from there have certainly helped. But yeah, I've used it to my advantage. Let's put it that way. But like I said, it comes from something I watched, and I thought that's really, really good, because it made me feel something. So I thought, right, this can be quite a useful tool now. So I don't do it all the time, but I like doing a little bit of them every now and then, mainly because of the abuse I get as a result of it. So just don't read the comments; it's fine.
You have expressed strong opinions about trigger warnings in your literature. How has this stance influenced your readership and the marketing of your books?
I remember I hosted a contest and a lady won 4 books for nothing. So she won 4 books. Amazing. There you go. I then released a video saying I don't do trigger warnings in my books because I don't see your emotions as my responsibility. I can't account for every possible trauma. It's a piece of fiction. You shouldn't be getting upset over squiggly lines on the page. But that's just me. And the lady then stitched my video and said, thank you for the books. I'm no longer going to read them because you don't put trigger warnings in, and I'm really strongly against anyone who doesn't put trigger warnings in, and you can't account for all this and all this and all this. And I was like, well, that's not very nice, is it? However, what that did show me is that lady is not my audience. So if she did read the books, she probably wouldn't have enjoyed that much anyway. So I think it's a case of I've planted my flag in the ground and in the sand, and I've gone, this is my stance on this. If you like it, great, come follow me. My work reflects it. If you want that sort of stuff, I'm probably not your person, which means that I'm not trying to appeal to everybody. I'm just trying to appeal to a certain demographic of readers. And hopefully that demographic of readers, when they find me, they enjoy my stuff and they stick around. If you try to appeal to everybody, you appeal to nobody. You've got to get your, I don't know, you've got to plant your base, I think, and see who comes and who stays. So yeah, but trigger warnings is the most controversial thing, what I say. And I don't know, maybe it's just my life experience, etc. The world's a big, bad, nasty place. And you don't get warned about a lot of stuff that's going to happen. So, and plus, if you're trying to accommodate to everybody's emotions, the book will be, 10 inches thick, and it'll all be just trying to account for every possible thing. And plus, they don't work, and I've done loads of research into it, and they actually make the book worse, because then the person's always waiting for the bad thing to happen, and the bad thing might not be as bad as you thought it was. And it's a spoiler as well, You're saying to somebody this bad thing's going to happen in here, well, then that takes away the shock factor. It takes away the build up, because you know what's going to happen. So yeah, I mean, I could go on. I could literally go on for a long time about it, but I won't do it. But yeah, it's more just about defining your genre and saying, this is what I do. If you like it, great. If you don't like it, that's fine too.
And if anyone's interested, he does have a very long blog post on this on his website about it.
Yeah.
And I think that when you said that it kind of breaks that shock value, I have actually heard people in the authortube community, because this has been something we've discussed in the authortube community on YouTube quite a bit. And there are people who have that same opinion. Like, I don't want to know what they are, because then now I know they're coming. And, I want to be surprised by what I find. And then I've also heard some people say that just the trigger warning itself was enough to cause some issues before they even started the book.
Yeah, exactly. Because
the trigger warning is triggering in itself.
Yeah.
So then it's like
the irony.
Point.
Yeah. So I mean, this is what I mean. So say if you say, I don't know, this book contains animal violence. Okay, that can conjure up a million different things in your head. What could actually happen is somebody pushes a dog. Of course, you shouldn't push a dog. It's very bad, but that's not as bad as what you're possibly thinking of. So then the person has got upset and wound themselves up waiting for this thing to happen. Then when it finally comes, they're like, I was getting stressed out over nothing. I was getting upset over something which wasn't even that bad. With trigger warnings, it's too much of a minefield to try and navigate. So we'd just rather not navigate the minefield. Yeah, I'm happy skipping around it and then living life. So.
Yeah, I can understand that. I think what I appreciate more now is because I read a lot of fantasy romance and some of that can get quite dark, especially now that dark fantasy romance is growing in popularity. A lot of the authors will just put at the bottom of their blurb, trigger warnings on website if you want them. And so I was like, okay, so that if people want to get the trigger warnings, they're there. But if they don't want to be spoiled or they don't want to be triggered, then they don't have to worry about it being right there in front of them.
What marketing have you tried that you would never do again?
I don't know if there's any I would never do again, specifically. There's some which have had much less return on others, and that is outreach marketing. So I would scour TikTok, Instagram, whatever, and I would message people and go, hey, you know, a little pitch, hey, I've got this book. I see you've reviewed this book and this book. I think you really like it. Can I send you a free copy? You review it honestly on your channel. You get more views on your channel. I get more eyes on my story. Happy days. If I send out 20 books, which of course a lot of it's international as well, so it's quite expensive, there might only be like a small percentage that actually do it. So for example, I think I've sent out 10 and maybe I've had 4 people that do it. So maybe they're busy, maybe they never get around to it, maybe they forget. You don't want to keep pestering them going, hey, have you reviewed it yet? Hey, have you reviewed it yet? So yeah, but outreach marketing, it can work if they've got a big audience and they really enjoy it, but equally it can go badly if they have a big audience and they didn't enjoy it. And also it can be a waste of money if they buy it, you send it over to them and you just hear nothing back again, it's crickets. So yeah, outreach marketing can be powerful, but there is a lot of risk involved to it as well. You
sent physical copies. Were there people that you were able to just do like the e-version, the ebooks instead to kind of save on that cost?
Yeah, so I could do that. However, I'd have to do it through BookFunnel because I remember I sent out some PDFs before to people and I was speaking to an author who said, yeah, don't do that. That's how to get your book pirated. I was like, oh, okay, BookFunnel it is in future. However, I think more people are likely to read and review it if they then can hold up the book for their channel. So the physical copy is better for, say, like your Instagram and your TikTok, because then they can hold up the book and they can go, hey, look at this book, you know, and it's cool. Plus you can sign it for them and everything, and it becomes a bit more of a collectible rather than just an e-copy. But it is definitely something I can look at in the future. Might save me some money and a lot of heartbreak. So yeah.
If you could only pass on one thing to aspiring self-published writers, what's your best marketing tip or trick?
Try to make a video or a post which makes someone feel an emotion. You need to make it so that people remember you. And there's that many different videos out there. And I think the attention span on a TikTok video is like less than a second. So you've literally got less than a second to show somebody something for them to watch it. And then the drop off is after 3 seconds. They watch it and they flick again and you just disappear into the ether. So you've really got to try and capture someone's attention. And the best way to do that is to show them something which is going to make them feel something, because people are emotional creatures. I read a book called The One-Page Marketing Plan. It talks all about this sort of stuff, about the psychology of marketing, etc. And it says you have to make somebody feel something because the emotions will keep them engaged. And then if you can have a payoff at the end, great. You know, so give them a reward for engaging for the 5, 10, maybe 60 seconds of your content. Where I found it quite useful with that is definitely like the point of view videos from a character, because then not only are people feeling something, they're engaging with the video, they're commenting, and they're also seeing the book at the end, and they're also getting invested in the character, which they've just seen too. Definitely say, just try to be a bit more original. I mean, we all like the holding the book and you flick it round at the last second, those kind of videos, and they're great, but there's a lot of them out there. So try and showcase a little bit of you as well, because anyone could be holding that book. Try and show a bit of you. Try to be a bit more original with what you're doing.
I love that. I don't think we've ever had that as a advice here on the podcast. So I love that.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
Shifting over from publishing into your writing life, how much time do you spend working as an author versus other writing-related stuff like editing, finding readers, marketing your books, TikTok, etc.?
It can vary. So it depends what kind of stage I'm in the production process. So if I'm writing a book, it can be normally about an hour, maybe an hour a day actually writing. And I've said that to some people and like, what do you mean an hour? God, I do 3-4 hours a day like writing a story. I'm like, yeah, okay, but it depends on how focused you are during that session. And I've gotten quite good at basically just streamlining the process and being able to write quite a lot, quite quickly, and then take breaks and go back. So I'm constantly at that first stage of being focused. So So in an hour, I can write quite a lot. And then if I've got, say, other editing processes going on, if I'm editing, then that's like an all day. So I don't really move from the computer because I want to get that done so that I can start editing it again and again and send it off and all the rest of it. So generally what I'll do is in the morning, I work best in the morning. So I'll get up, I'll go to the gym, I'll go for a run, I'll take the dog out, I'll clean up, I'll have some food. And then it's like, right, okay, about 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, I'll sit down and I'll focus on what my project is, current project is. Not every day. I'd like to say I do it every day, but definitely there's other things which I am guilty of doing instead because writing's tough. And yeah, we want to do the marketing, want to do the the promoting and stuff first, rather than what you're meant to be doing. But I'm working on that, so forgive me. But when it comes to creation, I like to batch create content now. So I'll create quite a lot of stuff up front, whether that's book graphics for Instagram, whether that's videos for TikTok, other social media. And then what I'll do is I'll either schedule it or I'll just have it on my phone or on my computer and I'll publish it as and when, really. I like to schedule newsletters. I've just gotten quite good at streamlining and planning ahead. But that's definitely a big thing for me is planning. And I'm not very good at it. So sometimes I'll be really, really good at planning. Other weeks I'll be like, I've nothing planned all week. Oh my gosh, I've got a whole day of content to create and I've got about 14 minutes to do it in. So yeah, it's I quite like putting myself under pressure to get a lot done very quick, which is probably why I'm getting wrinkles at the age of 31. So.
What advice would you give to writers just starting out who want to explore darker subject matter in their fiction?
Ooh, don't be afraid to write what you think. Just go in. Just go there because it's only you reading it early on. It's only you reading that manuscript. You write whatever comes to your mind. Do not censor yourself because if you start censoring yourself to begin with, you'll censor yourself later on. Maybe in the editing process, you can pull it back a little bit, but it's good to go right over the edge to pull yourself back rather than try and force yourself to go close to the edge when you don't want to. So I think, yeah, just because writing's such a cathartic experience and you can really get into the zone and you can just get into the flow state and disappear down a rabbit hole. Just, explore. Also, read horror, read dark fantasy, read thrillers, look at movies, get inspiration from other places and find out what sort of things interest you and then run with that. Run with that and don't censor yourself. And like I said, if you get to the editing process, then you can pull it back if need be, but just go full throttle in those early stages. See what you can come up with. See how gruesome and grotesque and scary and vulgar it can be. And then maybe tone it down a bit later on. But yeah, that's what I'd say. Don't censor yourself. Just let yourself run free and see what comes out.
Great advice. Yeah. I did it was supposed to be a short story, but it ended up being not a short story. I called it my not short story for a level that I reached in my Kickstarter for A Curse of Scales and Feathers last year. My main male character had gone through a lot of terrible things before, his story unfolds. And I wrote a lot of it out and it was all really, really bad stuff. And I was like, okay, let me just get this out and then I can scale it back. And that's why I scaled it way back and kind of glossed over most of this stuff. But great advice. I didn't know that then, but that was really great to know. So you've mentioned, trying to get into a certain frame of mind when you are writing and on your website you do talk about this as like the flow state, which I really love the idea of the flow state. I've looked a lot into it. David Gogren I think talks about flow state quite a bit on his YouTube channel. So with getting in the flow state, it is extremely important for your writing process. So what strategies have proven most effective for you in maintaining focus and achieving that flow state during your writing sessions?
So rule number one, get rid of this thing, throw it out the window, put it in a lockbox, because even if it's on the table, you want to look at it.
And you're talking about your cell phone for those who do not see that he was holding up his phone.
Absolutely. My cell phone, that thing. Yes, of course. Thank you, Shannon. So get rid of distractions. The headphones I'm wearing currently are noise cancelling headphones. They cost about £20 to £30. Absolutely worth the weight in gold. You can put the noise cancelling thing on. My girlfriend has been shouting at me before that the house is on fire, and I did not hear her at all until I started smelling smoke. And even then, I just thought it was my fingers on the keys going too quick. So the noise cancelling headphones, I like listening to white noise. I don't generally listen to music because music, I'll get into the music. White noise, I like to just vanish and just the world just disappears inside your own head. Then what I do is I'll do writing sprints. So I'll set a timer for 15 minutes. I'll write non-stop for 15 minutes. Even if I can't think of anything to write, I'll write the words, I can't think of anything. I cannot think of anything. And what that does is it keeps the mind ticking. It keeps the engine going. Because if you stop for too long, it's hard to start again. Then what I do is when you get to the 50 minutes are up, then I'll set a 5-minute timer. I get up, walk away from the desk, because then I'm allowed to check my phone. I'm allowed to do what I want to do, make a coffee or whatever. Then the 5 minutes are up, I come sit back down, set another 15-minute timer, white noise back on, and I'm going again. Put my phone on do not disturb, and then that's where I go. And I keep repeating that really until I do start to feel a bit tired, and I'm like, okay, you know what, I've done enough now. And what I try to do as well is at the end of the 15 minutes, I try to to stop halfway through a scene so that when I come and sit back down, I'm not starting from nothing again. I'm starting back in the scene so I'll know where I am. So I'm able to just keep that momentum going. And by doing that, I managed to get a lot of writing done in quite a small amount of time. So yeah, definitely white noise cancelling headphones, get rid of your mobile phone for a little bit. You'll be absolutely fine being away from Instagram for half an hour. And and just it's training yourself to go, this is work time now. This is work time. Distractions can wait till later. This is what I need to do now. So yeah, and it's worked quite well for me. It's managed to really massively increase my production. And two, log word counts. If you get like a spreadsheet and you write in the day or you write in the afternoon or whatever, if you log your word counts, it means that you're able to see where you work the best. So I'm much more of a morning writer rather than an evening writer. So it allows you to pick the best time where you can write as well.
With 1 million words across multiple genres, could you share your approach to managing such diverse projects? And specifically, how do you keep your genres and series distinct in your planning and writing?
1 million, wow, that's quite a few. That's quite a lot. So definitely now I'm more established. I'm more defined as I'm a horror and crime writer. Definitely more thriller crime, like very dark crime with a bits of horror aspects in it. I still tip my toe into a little bit of horror. The dark fantasy, I don't really tip into that anymore. I loved writing it, but I'm more established now in the thriller and horror genre. I don't want to diversify my audience too much. I want to kind of stay in one lane. So that is definitely something which I've had to learn as I've gone on, because when I first started, I wanted to write everything. Oh, this sounds really cool. This is a cool idea. I want to write everything. But I'm much more focused now on what I'm writing, which helps the production much more, because I get really into a certain topic or like a certain series. So yeah, but what was the next part of the question? Sorry, what was the last part?
How do you keep your genres and series distinct in your planning and writing?
Well, at the minute I've only got the one lot of thriller books, so it'll be interesting to see then when I start a new thriller series how that is different from the first one. Got some ideas, but yeah, it'd be interesting to see how I can play around creatively with making them quite distinct. But when it comes to my earlier stuff, my horror stuff, what I've done is I've basically bundled them into one huge book. And then I use the Amazon 5-day free promotion, and then I'll advertise, do a free promotion of some of the shorter stories to hopefully then bring people into my back catalogue, and then that will help people then hopefully discover my new stuff too.
What are your thoughts on the future of indie publishing, and what trends do you see emerging in the coming years?
I think artificial intelligence is going to be quite a worrying thing. I think a lot of people who want to make money very fast will be pumping out AI books to the point now where Amazon have had to tell people they can't publish more than 3 novels a day. 3 a day! That's too much, apparently. Didn't know that was even possible. But yeah, AI content, definitely. I think a lot of writers are trying to be more extreme with their production and their kind of the work they're creating, because there is so many different books out there. You need something which stands out, and I think a lot of people are like the extreme horror, and like there was the book Tender as a Flesh, which was, I didn't really think the book was that good, but the content of the book was so shocking. I think people are trying to be more kind of in your face now with their content. So yeah, I think people are going to be trying to just push the boundaries even more, I think, and not necessarily a bad thing, I think.
All right, so what are you working on next, and can you tell us about your next book that you hope will come out and when it will come out?
So next book is book 4 in my Detective Law Warburton series, called The Downward Spiral. Unfortunately, I don't have the paperback copy finished yet, otherwise I'd happily show it you. However, you can see on my Instagram if you want to. It's a really nice cover. I've changed my cover designer recently, and the design is absolutely fantastic. This book is really goes down into the kind of, I'm trying to say it without spoiling it. So there is a serial unaliver out there who is very barbaric. This person's out there doing these horrible things. We have our protagonist here who has to try and stop them. All the people who the protagonist has around her have really lost faith in her, because even though she gets the job done, her methods are so bullshit, shall we say, and she's an incredibly dysfunctional character as well, because her character is built on an abusive relationship she survived, the circumstances of her ex-partner, and what happened to him. She's had relationships which have not ended well. She's an alcoholic. There's all sorts of issues surrounding this woman. So she's the kind of person who doesn't make friends easily, but makes enemies twice as quick. And there was another character who really betrays her in the most unforgivable way as a way to forward his own career. And it's so much about, like, it's called a downward spiral, because we just see the descent of not only the main character who's trying to hold herself together, but also how one bad person brings down everyone else around them as well. And it's about them trying to crawl out of that pit and try to solve what's happening. I wish I could go into more detail because it's dead good. So I can't go into much more detail than that. And that comes out on the 10th of June this year.
Okay, so really soon. That's not too far.
Yeah, I need to get a move on with certain parts of it. So yeah.
All right, so we've answered all of our questions. Before we wrap up, can you tell our listeners where they can find you and purchase your books?
So I on Jeff Bezos's Slavery Machine. So if you search me on the Zon, you will find me there. If you search J Darkmoore into Google, you'll find my website, you'll find my newsletter, which you get a free book when you sign up. But yeah, search J Darkmoore on Amazon and you will find me and all of my work there.
Nice. Thank you so much for joining us today and giving us your insight and experience. It was great to have you.
My absolute pleasure. Thank you very much for having me.
All right, so this is our last guest author interview for this season, but the season isn't done yet, as we have a couple of book discussion episodes followed by a special episode on December 15th to wrap up the season. And with that, we'll say goodbye, everybody.
Bye. Thank you so much to our incredible listeners and viewers for joining us on our exploration of everything self-publishing. We hope you found our podcast to be a treasure trove of insights and inspiration. If you've enjoyed the show, please consider leaving a review on your favorite podcast platform or thanks on our YouTube episodes. Don't forget, you can catch all of our past episodes on YouTube, Spotify, and other major podcast platforms. Keep writing, keep publishing, and we'll see you next time.